googling, but I've seen this before on this phone. Look at this tree out here, outside our office. There was a lightning strike last Sunday, and that lightning brought down that whole tree. Hi, Kathy. Welcome here. You were probably expecting Ida. She'll be here in a second, but I'm just hanging out for a moment, bringing room. I thought maybe I'd take a minute, tell you a story from camp. One of my first years at camp, they actually assigned me to the adults. I had a guy and his wife, and they were not doing very well. He actually had some sort of problem absorbing food himself, so he was a real skinny guy, but real smart, real nice guy. And they had a son with hydrocephalus, which is what I would commonly call water in the brain. And you know, just this second, I'm realizing that when I was a kid, there was a guy up the street, like he lived like one block up from me, going up the hill, and he had hydrocephalus. And I just remember he had a really large head, and that's now that I think about that, that was one of my early experiences with disability. I didn't really know much about him. I didn't didn't understand. And the funny thing was, I even back then I didn't really want to know. I didn't really want to spend any time with that guy or find out what his whole story was. And so that's a little bit about what Ida is going to be talking about today. Ida's going to be considering people and their uniqueness, their differences, and so it's something I think some people are more natural at than others. That's what I always tell the story about Anna Marie when she was 3, that she was very interested in people's differentness, and she's an observer. She's sort of a natural observer where she just hangs out with folks and gets to know them and observes them, and she's not really intimidated by it. When she's about ready to go, thank you, by the way, for the retweeting and the like, Kathy. When she goes to meet somebody new, she's not really afraid of that, or maybe a better way of saying it is she's always a little bit hesitant, and she's always a little bit careful about that. So there's Joel popping in. Hi, Joel. Welcome to the room. Joel is popping in from a great distance to be able to watch this video. So Anna Marie maybe is a little hesitant to meet everyone. That's a little bit. She's a little bit shy, and so she's an observer. And so maybe in that way things aren't really different depending on the individual. Everything's the same for her. So people who are much different, or seem to be observably different, are less intimidating for her than for me. When I come across somebody, I'm just a little bit concerned about who I might come across or what they might be like. And so I'm hesitant. Anytime Anna Marie goes to camp, I'm always with her right before camp, and I have sort of some nerves going on, and I'll say to her, you feeling a little bit nervous about what's coming up? And she's like, nervous? Why would I feel nervous? This is like the most fun thing that's about to happen. I'm gonna have like the best week of my year. And I don't know. My point here is that just everybody's a little bit different, aren't we? We all have sort of our own perspectives, even when it comes to disability, how much comfort we have, or where we settle in on things, how we feel in a given circumstance. Certain types of disabilities maybe are more uncomfortable for us than others. I often say that for me, one of the most uncomfortable disability situations. By the way, welcome those of you who are coming in. I think Anna Marie just popped in. So Anna Marie, I was just talking about you, but one of the most uncomfortable situations for me is when communication is difficult. People who have unique ways of communicating are some of the hardest for me to figure out how to bridge that gap. You know, when you meet somebody new, there's always a little bit of a fear. And so to try to figure out how to bridge that gap with an individual that's a little bit different, it sometimes all it takes is courage. I mean, what it really takes is courage. Is you just have to say, this is worth it. I'm going to take a minute and bridge a gap that I feel a little bit uncomfortable bridging, but it's going to be worth it, because in the end I'm going to build a relationship with someone, and I'm actually going to gain. This is a friend waiting to happen in my future. So that's the experience I go through at camp, particularly when I've got somebody that doesn't communicate in typical ways. Kathy says, I had a special needs approach me. We'd asked me what I was doing. I said, I have my phone. She said, no. You had a special needs approach me. There's some autocorrects in there. She'd, I think you probably mean, ask me what I was doing. I said, I have my phone. She said, no. And then it cuts off on me. You might have typed more, but that's as much as I can read on the screen. Wednesday. Oh, on Wednesday you had an encounter. Yeah, so that's real fresh for you. You know, you have an encounter with a new person, and that happens to us in the marketplace a lot. We see somebody from afar, or maybe we're at a grocery store or something like that. And we come up against somebody who's different, and we interface with them. And here's the key that I want to say to everybody is, the main thing is for you to just step in and care. Actually care. Not try to get rid of all the head noise, try to get rid of all the fear that's clouding the issue, and just say, hey, there's a potential friend. Let me figure out who's there. So somebody pointed at the rollator, and she had it was a person who had special needs. Yeah, well, just because you have a special, the thing about that, Kathy, did that bother you, or did that concern you? The thing I always think is when people are genuine, when they're innocent, even their very deep inquisitive questions. Like my friend with Bobby, my friend Bobby, who's a bilateral amputee, people would come up to him all the time and like say, where, like a little kid would come up and say, what happened to your legs? And when a little kid asks that question, you realize that they're not being judgmental in any way. You know what I mean? Like they're not. When an adult asks that question, it could be full of all sorts of subtext. But when a little kid asks that, they're asking because they're like, hey, what happened to your legs? Like, most people have legs, you don't. What's the story, right? They're not being judgmental. They're just trying to understand. And that's my point, is that when we meet new people, that essentially understanding is really what we want to try to pull off, right? So, but this isn't me talking. I'm just trying to get us started, fill the room up a little bit, wait for people to show up. You have a special treat this morning. Ida's going to talk to you, and so this is her conversation. She's going to be she's going to be talking to you about uniqueness and inclusion and some concepts like that. So, Kathy's still finishing up what she was saying here. Let me see. I said I don't walk too good. What are you doing today? Yeah. And see, Kathy, but when people in other situations look at you and and give you that sort of look, you're more suspicious, because a young person, particularly a young person maybe with some special needs, you realize they're just being inquisitive, and that's friendliness. See, there's a certain inquisitiveness to just being friends. So anyway, let me turn it over to Ida. Ida's got a number of things to say. Would you consider a couple of things as we get started? Would you consider trying to type an emoji or a smiley face if you're on an Android or something like that to just to welcome Ida? Ida gets, we press her to do these conversations. She's got great material, but she gets nervous about presenting, and so consider when you see her. Let's really welcome her, and through the talk, on Periscope you can tap on the screen and little hearts float up. Maybe what you can do is, while she's talking, you could just emote a little bit, put smiley faces, and encourage her as she's moving along. Also appreciate your likes and follows throughout it. And I'll get on with my computer and I'll type some stuff while she's talking too. But I'm going to hand it over to Ida. Do you want me to put it in the stand, Ida, or do you want to put it up? So let me introduce the director of Uniquely the Same. Her name is Ida Blevins, and she's got some good stuff for you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Cal. I'm going to get this in the stand. And hopefully the clip doesn't snap. Got it. Hi, everybody. Welcome in today. I want to thank Cal for introducing me and taking a little bit of time to help me get organized here at my desk. There's always something going on here. As he said, as Cal shared with you, I'm the Director of Operations for Uniquely the Same. And what that means is I manage the day-to-day operations of the organization. And I manage the day-to-day operations of the organization. And really, my main job is to connect with people, to identify resources and connect people with those resources. As Cal said, my thing is really not sitting in front of the camera, but if it's a way for me to help connect with you and connect back to the organization Uniquely the Same, then I'm in. I believe in it that much. Uniquely the Same is I guess, SamCast is part of Uniquely the Same. So we have multiple people who are broadcasting from SamCast who are helping us to support and grow the organization. You know, what are we doing on Meerkat, Uniquely the Same? Well, we're really trying to expand our community, to continue to grow, to get the word out about our organization, and to really help dispel the ignorance associated with disability, and to help demystify it a bit. So that's what we're out here for, to really just make friends and hopefully join us on our journey to do the things that we want to do. Our vision at Uniquely the Same is a big vision. It's a world full of villages where people can meet their basic quality of life needs, but in order to do that, we want to have an authentic, inclusive community. So we want people to care about each other. That's what makes us a little bit different at Uniquely the Same. There are a lot of organizations out there that supply services, but what we want to do is connect those services with a true community, with true friendship and love and relationships. We have values of respect and unity and relational care, Christian faith, grace, joy, and most of all, love. We want to love one another. How hard is that? That's something we could all do for each other. I was going to share with you a little bit about my goal for this webcast. Sorry. People are in the background turning on my voice. It scares me. My goal for today is really to make a connection. There's a lot of things out there on Meerkat. There's points and there's followers and there's tweets and retweets. All that, I guess, is important to some degree. But to me, really, my goal is to make a connection with someone in this room and to remember to be grateful for that connection, and then hopefully to pay it forward. So that's what I'm here for today. Wanted to also tell you about expanding our community and looking at growing our membership. Our goal is to get a pool of 2,500 people to help us with our vision, and which is to create this world full of villages. So that's a little bit about Uniquely the Same. We really are out there extending a hand to you to ask you to join us in this journey, and really hope you do, and really look forward to getting to know you along the way, and hopefully you get to know me a little better and I won't be so freaked out about standing here in front of this camera. It's really an opportunity to connect, and I know that. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of information before I get started on my talk on inclusion, and just tell you a little bit about what's been going on at Uniquely the Same. We are a nonprofit organization. We got our nonprofit status about a year ago now. And right now, for the next 2 years, we're in a study phase. We are looking at different organizations to see what we'd like to emulate, the things that we think maybe not so much, but we want to take the time to step back and do it right when we start this organization. But as we do that study, we are still connecting with people and connecting resources to those people. So I just wanted to give you a little idea of what we did this past week. We met with a family who has a child who has just recently been diagnosed on the autism spectrum. But he's a 15-year-old young man who has some obvious developmental delays, but didn't score low enough on any testing to be diagnosed with a mental retardation or a developmental disability diagnosis. So when that happens, he's sort of cut out of services. So the family was coming to us, asking us what we could do to help them. Did we have any suggestions? Did we have any connections that we could connect them with? And in some way, as we went through the discussion, we were told that he was just recently given a diagnosis of being on the autism spectrum. So that opened a door to some services that are available out there to provide this young man with the ability maybe to open up his IEP, to do a little more investigation into how the school could help them meet their goals. And oftentimes when a patient, I say patient because I have a background in the medical field, but when a friend of ours is associated or affected by disability, oftentimes the people that are in the trenches with that, who are facing it every day, are just exhausted with jumping the hurdles that are associated with dealing with a family member that is affected by disability. So what we do is we come alongside those people, and we extend a hand of friendship, and we establish a relationship, and we are there to support them, to help them maybe breathe a bit and get their footing so we can move forward and identify those resources, connect people with those resources, and get them where they need to go. Rob says with technology today, we do not need to make face-to-face connections. However, we can make a virtual connection. Yeah, I think that's true, but sometimes I'm old school. So a lot of times I like to have that face-to-face actual connection. I know we can do it here by virtually, and hopefully you can tell by my voice, you can tell by my actions that I really do care. But I don't know, as I said, I'm old school. I like to make that connection. So there are some things that we can identify for this family, some resources for specifically for people on the autism spectrum. There's a lot of resources out there. It's just taking the time to identify which ones could potentially help with this particular situation, how they can help, and how to facilitate it so it happens in a timely manner. So that's one of the things we're working on, and we met with those people this week, and really happy to say that things are moving forward there too. Do I have any? Thank you all for joining us, and I do appreciate your likes and your retweets. Thanks, Kathy, for the hearts. I like that. Joel, thank you for liking it. Joel's my husband, who is here visiting, and Cal said he's traveled a long distance. He's actually right across the room, which gives me a little bit of confidence in sitting here in front of you, talking to you today, too. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about inclusion. And to me, inclusion is such a big word, but I don't think inclusion just relates to people on the autism spectrum that have a disability. We all like to be included. And the reason it's fresh in my mind right now is we had a situation in our family. I have a nephew who has cerebral ataxia. He's 8 years old. He was at school, and a little girl came in with a stack of birthday party invitations. And systematically, she handed out those birthday party invitations to everyone in the room except for him. So when that happened, he was totally heartbroken, and he did not understand why he wasn't included in the birthday party invitation. So his mom tried to explain to him that, well, you know, sometimes people are maybe a little bit frightened by your walker, or maybe they're frightened by the fact that sometimes you fall. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons, I guess, why people are intimidated by people affected by disability. But certainly when you're looking at a child who hasn't had the opportunity to develop those walls that you can build to protect your feelings, it just breaks my heart. I just want to reach in and grab him and do what I can to make it all better for him. But I know, you know, even though I'm a fixer, I can't fix everything. But here's what we can do. We can reach out and love one another. And we can have we can work on changing attitudes that are associated with those affected by disability. And once attitudes are changed, then actions change too. We what am I want to say? Sometimes when you have a negative attitude, or an attitude where you feel like you've built up a wall and you're not willing to reach out and extend a hand, whether you communicate that verbally or not, people sense that. People get the feeling that they're just not really a part of things. Kathy says, here everyone is invited in the room if the invitations come to school, otherwise they have to be mailed. I agree with that, Kathy. I can't even imagine as a mother sending those invitations into school and not including everybody. I wouldn't do it now. I wouldn't have done it then. But again, I think it comes down to a little bit of maybe ignorance on the part of whoever handed out those invitations. And it's an opportunity, I guess, for us to reach out and do a little bit of education. When I did some research into how children could relate to their peers, especially those that are affected by disability, the recommendation is, if you go into the school to do education for the kids in the classroom, you really shouldn't start there. You should start at the school board level and educate the school board. And once you've educated the school board, you should look to educate the administrators there at the school, and then the teachers, and then the children. So everybody from the top down understands the importance of inclusion. It seems like it would be common sense, but what do they say? Common sense is a flower that doesn't grow in everybody's garden. Sometimes things have to be pointed out. Cal says, I agree with that approach. I can't imagine not inviting everyone. So yeah, I know how I am. I get a little bit teary-eyed just thinking about people who aren't included. One time when Cal often talks about his children and how, especially Anna Marie, who had introduced him really to his love for this particular vision. And we had a situation where my son, my middle son Brad, we had gone out to a restaurant, and we all walked in. I have 3 sons, and my husband and I walked into this restaurant, and Brad was probably, maybe, I don't know, 8 years old maybe. I think younger probably at the time. And we walked by this man who was just really disheveled and dirty and unshaven, and he looked like a homeless person. And so I just sort of led my kids around him, and we walked past him and went to our table and sat down. And Brad turned to me and he said, Mommy, did you see that man? And I thought, oh no. I said, Brad, he's a man just like us, so you shouldn't point him out. He just don't pay attention. Don't draw attention to him. And he looked at me really like, what are you talking about, Mom? And he said, no, Mommy, he was all by himself. Can he come have dinner with us? And I thought, oh, from the mouths of babes, absolutely yes. So that evening we had dinner with that man, and actually were blessed by the opportunity to get to know him. He had so many life experiences, and just through no fault of his own, happened to be homeless. So it was a great learning experience for my children, and even a bigger one for me. So it, really important to I guess open your eyes and look past those kind of things, because we're all people after all. Kathy said they invited the girls, didn't matter who they were. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, thanks. Brad's still like that to this day. He's very tender-hearted and open and loving. So I'm really blessed with my children. One of the things because I mentioned I was an administrator in healthcare actually, so a lot of the things that I did was based on data. And even though I know that this is not a data-driven vision or mission or whatever, I still like to look up data. And I found a report that was done by UNICEF in 2013. And it's called The State of the World's Children. And I have the executive summary in front of me, but what I particularly liked about it is, I'm not going to bore you with all the study and all the things that are in there, but the way it starts out like this. Reports such as this typically begin with a statistic designed to highlight a problem. The girls and boys to whom this edition of The State of the World's Children is dedicated are not problems. Each is a sister, a brother, or a friend who has a favorite dish, song, or game, a daughter or son with dreams and a desire to fill them, a child with a disability who has the same rights as any other girl or boy. And I thought, wow, that's truly it. This study, this executive summary, The State of the World's Children, has a lot of good information in it. It points out how children with disability suffer from exclusion. They're not included in social situations, and that, even though Uniquely the Same is focused on adults with disability, you don't get to be an adult with disability without being a child first. So I think children definitely learn from us, and if we're going to project to them what we'd like for them to emulate, then we have to be aware of their attitudes and our attitudes that we project to them. So have any of you experienced or had your children or someone that you love or care about experience exclusion to some degree? I know I have, and I'd be interested in hearing your stories too. It's amazing how once the barriers are broken down, it becomes easier, but the initial breaking of that barrier can be, I can't read the rest of it, so the initial breaking of that barrier can I guess be difficult. So yeah, breaking through those barriers is hard. But honestly, those types of barriers that exist because we, I guess, don't take the time to open up our hearts to seeing what we can do to break them down. That's just my opinion. And I had an eye-opening experience when I went to an accessibility conference not too long ago. Rob's even using my joke, what did the bull say to his son? It's actually, what did the buffalo say to his son when he left for college? And it's bye, son. Yeah, it's a good one, Rob. I really like that one. There was another one there that I put, I don't know if I put it on our site or not, but it's, what, did you hear what happened to the cat that ate a ball of yarn? She had mittens. Okay. I think we're on this quest to see who can get the worst joke, and but I think Cal actually is the title owner for that, so I'll let him tell that joke later. But anyway, thank you for the jokes. What does the fly... Cal says, what does the fly say when you pull off his wings? Oh my goodness. That's going to spur some conversation amongst the Uniquely the Same people in the room. So anyway, I have a little cartoon that I'd like to share with you if I can figure out how to do this. Technology isn't my thing either, but I'm going to try. So let me see if I can get this off. Okay. Can you see that? I like that little cartoon. It's a brief cartoon. It's another thing that was put up by UNICEF. There was actually a contest to see who could do an inclusion type of cartoon, and I really like that one. It's so it tells a story, like on the outside trying to get in, and everybody, there seems to be a place for people of certain shapes and sizes, but the one little green guy who was obviously a different shape and size just didn't fit. But the ball opened up, and included him in the party. So I like that. Little sweet things like that really appeal to me. I guess I started to tell you about my my experience at a recent accessibility conference, which was held in the Washington D.C. area, and it was one of the things that really changed my life and made me believe that this is really the right place for me to be. At lunch, we all broke for lunch, and there's no assigned seating. When you went to lunch, you just found somebody to sit by and sat there and have lunch. Well, as I looked around, all the tables were full except for this one table with this little lady who was there, who was by herself eating her dinner, and I asked her if I could join her, and she said yes. So we struck up a conversation, me being new to this and just learning. We asked her, actually Cal was with me, and he asked her, if you could describe your biggest needs, what would you describe your biggest needs as a parent of an individual affected by disability? And her son happened to be on the autism spectrum, and he was high functioning on the spectrum. He was, I think, 22 years old at the time, had his bachelor's degree in accounting. But because of his disability, he either couldn't hold a job or couldn't seem to get hired for a job. Well, she said, well, of course, housing and education to some degree, but employment, meaningful employment. And then she went on to say, what's going to happen to him when I can no longer care for him, when I'm dead and gone? He's been part of my life forever, but who's going to carry on? Because frankly, services end at a certain point for people affected by disability, especially those on the spectrum. And so she was concerned about that, and legitimately so. Who's going to care for him when I can no longer do that? And we asked then, well, if your son were here and he could describe what his biggest need is, what would that be? And she didn't even stop for a second. She said, well, that's easy. He would tell you he needs a friend. And that stuck with me. I can't tell you. I could actually cry about it now, because to be able to provide friendship, to reach out a hand and just be welcoming and celebrate that person as an individual and as a part of humanity, why can't we do that? And why can't we do that for each other? So anyway, that to me is a meaningful part of why I'm here and why I feel like Uniquely the Same is the right place for me to be right now. I don't know what more to say about that than that. It's just the reaching out and being kind and being generous with your spirit to be able to sense when somebody, whether you have a disability or not, to sense when somebody could use a hand up or a hug. I'm a big hugger. So if somebody needs a hug, to reach out and give them a hug. I don't know if Anna Marie's still here, but we have a standing joke. I tell her, have I told you lately that I'm proud of you? And she says, yes, I think you just did. I like to, I guess, reinforce to people that they're loved and that they're cared about and that they're special in their way. So anyway, important to me. It's important to me to get it back. So for those of you who are out there, if you haven't heard it today, I'm really proud of you and I care about you. So corny, but I do. So anyway, Joel and I were talking earlier about his role, my husband Joel, who's also here today. We were talking about his role at the university where he works. He works for a community, actually it's a community college, and he manages he's the assistant director of the learning lab there. And just, he's been more cognizant too of how he relates to others, and specifically when training the tutors to explain to them how important it is to be open and relatable to everybody. Because oftentimes people with disabilities will frequent that learning lab because they have difficulties with maybe some communication, and they need maybe their tests read to them, or an interpreter, or those kind of things. So just to be able to reach out and be open to include those people too. Those people, each of us. It's not us or them, it's really all of us, each of us as an individual. So we're all important. I had to kind of smile because Rob says, where else can you go? Where else can you go on a road trip with two crazy people? Did I miss something? Thank you, Maria. I appreciate it. She says I'm doing a great job, and she has to run. Thanks, Maria, for being here and for those kind words. I really do appreciate it. Maria is a big help to us here at Uniquely the Same. We have a presence on Facebook and on Twitter, obviously now. And Maria does our Pinterest page. She manages our Pinterest page for us. And honestly, I was really familiar with Pinterest because I like to go and do crafting and recipes and that kind of thing. But what I really my eyes were open to is there's a lot of information out there related to disability and serious topics, not just crafts and cooking. So I would really encourage you, if you get a moment, and actually I should clarify that, because anybody who does Pinterest knows that Pinterest is a time warp. You go into Pinterest and you think you're going to be there for 5 minutes, and you look up and 3 hours later you've just realized that you've been in Pinterest that long. But there is some wonderful information on our Pinterest boards about disability, related to even separated into the topics that we address at Uniquely the Same: housing, education, employment. But there's also general resources and things that are really helpful, especially those of you who are out there maybe trying to do some education, or just want to have some education yourself that's in some format that's kind of easier to read and weed through, as opposed to maybe having to research it yourself and find it. It's right there for you on the board. So I would encourage you to look at our Pinterest page that Maria's doing such a wonderful job managing and helping us out with too. So thank you, Maria, for that. Kathy says, we're proud of you. I'm proud of you too. Here's a hug. Yeah, thank you, Kathy. Let's see, Rob says, no, I meant how you are meant to be at UTS. No, I meant how you're meant to be at UTS. Well, I think this is where I'm supposed to be. I think this is where, you know how, I don't know, God, karma, whatever you think. I mentioned I came to Uniquely the Same from a position, a management position at a health system. And our health system was 13 hospitals large, and I was in top management there. I worked really hard at that job there. I really thought that what I did was important. I still do think that what I did there was important. But I kept hearing this call to work with people affected by disability. I have several people in my family who are affected by disability, and one of my dearest friends in the world was in an automobile accident the summer between our freshman and sophomore year at college, and he is now quadriplegic as a result of that. Just knowing and loving people that happen to be affected by disability, I guess, you know, when I think about, especially about Frank, who is my friend who was in the automobile accident, when I think about Frank, I really don't think about him as a person with disabilities. I think about him as my friend Frank, who happened to be in a car accident and now is a quadriplegic. He's probably one of the most loving, kind, generous spirits you'll ever meet in your life. So, anyway, I have these people in my life, and blessed to have them in my life. And so anyway, I kept hearing that maybe this is something I needed to do, to work with people affected by disabilities and do what I can to help promote an organization similar to Uniquely the Same. But again, you get caught up in your job, and you get caught up in life, and you're too busy, and I just didn't make time. And a year ago to this day, Actually, I had a friend text me about it today. A year ago to this day, me and 42 other the top managers in the organization were called into a room, and we were all laid off that day. So I thought, well, okay, now I have no reason not to say I don't have time to do this. The opportunity at Uniquely the Same came open. I was asked to come and consider being one of the foundational board members. When I heard more about what it is, and I knew this was where I'm supposed to be. It's the right thing at the right time, and I really do think, just from acknowledging and dispelling ignorance about disability and demystifying disability, I think the time is now. People are starting to realize that those people affected by disability, all of us affected by disability, represent 20% of the world's population. That's a big number. It's time to pay attention. And with it being the 25th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, I think the time is right. We have so many people here on Meerkat and other places, but really here on Meerkat, we have found that there are people out there with a heart for disability who are wanting to listen, who are wanting to learn, and who are wanting to help. And man, how rewarding is that to know that we have friends out there who are willing to help and help us move forward with this. I just feel like it's the right thing. Let me look at some of these. Hi, Lydia. Thank you for being here. I like your hearts and your smiles. Thank you for that. Thank you for liking and retweeting. Rob says, and going on road trips with Cal and him. Yeah, the girl in the car is outnumbered, obviously, but I can hold my own. Let's see. Kathy says there's no such thing as coincidence. I agree, Kathy. You know, God opens a door or closes a door, and He opens a window. Joel says offering assistance and friendship can destroy many stigmas related to seeking assistance. Yes, sometimes it's hard to ask a stranger for help, but if it's a friend that you can turn to with confidence, not so hard. Thanks for that comment, Joel. Someone got to keep Cal and I on track. Rob says, I remember meeting with Cal after that and his excitement of having you on board. Yeah, I'm trying to think how to word this that it doesn't make me sound like a goofball, but what I bring to the organization is really organization. My career was in health information management, and in that role, you have to make sure that data is accurate, you cross your T's and you dot your I's. And so when you're starting up a new organization, it's really important to have the paperwork in line. I came to help do the paperwork associated with the federal and state nonprofit work, and we did that paperwork in record time. We got approval, and when we got our approval, I thought, okay, is my job here done? And no, it's not. I went to a Johnny and Friends camp, a family retreat, which I highly recommend to everybody. And what I learned from that was I thought I would be going to that camp being this volunteer and helping these people affected by disability. And what I learned from going to that camp truly is I had an opportunity to reach out to make new friends. Whether they had disabilities or not, I made new friends at that camp, and my eyes were truly open to the blessings that opening your heart can do. So I walked away from that more blessed than ever, and now I'm here to tell you that if we're going to build a world full of villages, there's no way I'm not going to live in one of those villages and be part of it. I can't imagine not being a part of it. So thanks, Rob. I'm blessed by knowing you and all the team members at Uniquely the Same, and now our new friends here on Meerkat too. It's just such a gift. Kathy says in 4 months we got our 501c3. Yeah, pretty much unheard of. We were actually thinking when we did it, once we turned it in August was when we turned it in, and we thought it would probably be April when we got our when we heard back from the government, but it was 4 months, which is
Say hello to Germany.
a record. Hello, Germany. Not sure if those will understand the lives of those who do. Not sure if those without will ever understand the lives of those who do. I think that's, yeah, to be able to put yourself in anyone else's shoes is a difficult thing to do. But I think that I truly believe that friendship and love and establishing a true relationship is what's foundational to that understanding. I don't think that you can. I was just reading an article actually, and Germany. What's your name? Germany. Okay, I'll just call you Germany. Sometimes you go into a learning experience about disabilities, and one of the things that has been done is they do exercises where you maybe try to emulate that particular disability. So if someone's blind, you wear blindfold so you can see what it feels like to be blind. Or if someone's in a wheelchair, you are in a wheelchair for 20 minutes to see what it feels like to be that person with the disability who's confined to a wheelchair. I don't think you can, in that brief period of time, ever understand what's in the heart or mind of another individual. So I think they call that ableism. It really, you really can't put your arms around it. So I agree. I don't think you can ever truly 100% understand, but I want to, through relationship and friendship, do what I can to understand them and have them understand me. The truth of the matter is, if you live long enough, you're going to have a disability. As I said, 20% of the world's population has disabilities, whether it's a visible disability or an invisible disability, like depression or schizophrenia or ADD or post-traumatic stress syndrome. There's a lot of disabilities out there that are not visible. So you really can't know one way or the other if somebody has a disability or does not have a disability. So bottom line, inclusion, let's just love everybody. Love everybody. Let's see, Kathy says, I won't brag about this, but she is now helping other nonprofits to get their 501c3 status. She's always helping. Yeah, here's my affliction. When somebody says, do we have any volunteers? I'm raising my hand. I love to help. And helping someone with their 501c3, there's an organization that's not far from us that has a similar kind of approach. They're looking at assisting those that are in nursing homes and whatever to be able to reach out to them, and they would like to get or at least apply for their 501c3, and so we're working with them to help them get the paperwork done. Not real hard to reach out and do that. Happy to do it for them. Kathy says, what do I tell you about positive energy? Yep, I agree. Yeah, Germany, I would be interested in knowing if how I was relating back to that question, if that was what you had in mind or not. I would love to know more about your thoughts on how we could never understand people without disabilities, could not understand those people with disabilities. So happy to hear your feedback on that. And for anybody out there, we love hearing from you. And one of the things that's so important, we've got so many issues that are out there, but as we grow our membership in Uniquely the Same through this wonderful SamCast opportunity, we need your help. We need your feedback. We need to hear from you, because Uniquely the Same isn't an organization that's run by a group of 5 or 6 individuals. Uniquely the Same is truly an organization that's run by you. It's an organization where everybody's feedback, everybody's input is important. Each one of us is as important as the other. Cal did a presentation. I don't know if he's done it here on Meerkat or not, but he's done other presentations, and he talks about how words matter, and how we need to consider if we're working with or for or about, or the prepositions that affect how we relate to those affected by disabilities. And we really need to think about not just welcoming people affected by disabilities, but celebrating people affected by disabilities, celebrating everybody who wants to be part of this organization and part of, I guess, part of the true community of humanity, not just uniquely the same. Because if we change that attitude, then we'll change our actions. And if we change our actions, we can change the world. There really is power in all of us working together to do that. Rob says, I'm surprised how Southern schools educate students on disability. Can you tell me, I'm not sure about how Southern schools educate their students on disability. I know that I'm from the Midwest, and we have absolutely no training in schools for how to recognize or, I guess, come alongside those people affected by disabilities. When I was going to school, which has been a very long time ago, people with disabilities weren't even part of the mainstream school. They were institutionalized or sent to another school. I didn't have the opportunity to even meet people affected by disability. That's one of the things that I'm really making a concerted effort to do, is to reach out and make new friends, especially those affected by disability, so I can learn. And I really do want them in my circle of friends, and I want to be a friend to them. I think we're called to do that. We're called to reach out and especially welcome those who maybe are excluded from social situations from time to time. Okay, Rob said, I did a version of Cal's presentation. Yeah, I heard that, so that's really good. Rob says, my cousin learned about disabilities in health class. Hi, Joe. Thanks for retweeting and liking this. I really do appreciate it. Hi. Nice to see you. Kathy says, nope, I am high on the phone and have, I'm not exactly sure what that means, Kathy. Am I missing something there? If you could clarify for me, that would be very helpful for me. Cal says, news that is pretty exciting. The official account of Dr. Temple Grandin just followed us. Oh my goodness. Okay,
cool.
Okay, now I can't even talk. Temple Grandin is such a hero of mine. For those of you who don't know, who are out there, Temple Grandin is a person who's affected by disability. She happens to be on the autism spectrum. She's done so much to advance the knowledge of, especially the condition of, is it a condition of called the autism, which is now autism spectrum disorder. It's there's so many different versions of autism that it's now called autism. Yeah, it's called the spectrum disorder because there's so many things on the spectrum. She just is a hero of mine, and I'm so proud and honored that she would recognize us. So that's really wonderful. Welcome to Uniquely the Same. Really do appreciate that. So Kathy says, oh, that would be a Lacey story. No wonder I didn't understand it. Kathy was typing some words that just didn't make any sense to me. Kathy has a dog, a service dog. Her name is Lacey. And Lacey can speak human. And we have clear documentation that this is true, because when Kathy turns on her voice to text and Lacey talks, there's actual words that are typed. So maybe later Kathy can get us, Kathy's laughing, but maybe Lacey can say hello for us, or she says some other words that I won't repeat. But she can say hello, and she can say welcome, and she's lots of fun. Rob says, however, there are barriers. We tried to do a Skype session Q&A, but the school denied it. Yeah, Rob shared a little bit about that Skype Q&A thing. I don't know if the school was intimidated by perhaps maybe not knowing who was on the other end of the Skype call and what exactly would be said, and had to clear that information first. But certainly, I think that Skype offers a great opportunity to bring different personalities into the classroom and expose our students to different types of people, not just those affected by disability, but people with different cultures, different ideas, different attitudes, diversity. That's what we're talking about today. Embrace your diversity, embrace being unique, embrace being yourself. By being yourself, you put something wonderful into the world that wasn't there before. And celebrate that. Bring you to the table, because I what's that song? It's all about the bass. You're what is it? Your every inch of you is perfect from the bottom to the top. Now I'm gonna laugh at myself, because I just listened to a commencement speech last night that had one of the speakers was speaking in song lyrics. And I'm not sure it made sense to the students. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I tend to do that myself. So I'm forgiving that person for that, because I talk in not just song lyrics, but in movie quotes as well. I learned that from my children. So Kathy says she had all that stuff, and that's how Google took it. Yeah, Google Speech got it. So, and then she walked away. She got tired of talking to us, so, well, maybe she'll come back later. One of the people that will be doing broadcasting for SamCast, Mallory, we're very excited to have Mallory joining our SamCast broadcast team. She has a service dog as well, and her dog's name is Sparrow, and Sparrow has her own Facebook page. So we're challenging Kathy to get Lacey's dog, Lacey, a Facebook page too, because, you know, maybe they could talk to each other then. I don't know. Anyway, SamCast UTS says, I am different, not less. Yes, that's so important. I am different, not less. And if you haven't had the opportunity, there is a movie out on Dr. Temple Grandin, and it's really, really interesting. She went to the University of Illinois, I believe. And when she was in college, she found that she had a particular affinity for understanding animals, and did some serious work on assisting with, I guess, how animals react to going to slaughter. If we're going to be meat eaters in this world, and we're going to eat cattle, then do we have to torture these cattle before they go into the processing plant? So anyway, she because of her understanding and her way of being able to pick up subtle signs from those animals, she was able to come up with and develop this wonderful system that's still used today. And on top of that, she has gone past her disability to the fact that she can stand up in front of an audience and give speeches that are just phenomenal. You can find her on YouTube. There's some wonderful, wonderful speeches out there from Dr. Temple Grandin. I would encourage you to do that. Germany, thank you. I think it's difficult to learn to accept limitations. I agree with you, Germany. I think that's true. Both our own limitations and perhaps the limitations of others. But we all have value, and we all have gifts, and we all have something to bring and to provide to the table. So I think one of the keys is understanding what our gifts are and what our limitations are, and understanding that everybody has limitations and everybody has gifts. If we can combine those gifts so we can help each other out, then that's truly what's important. And we're really working to identify those gifts in each other. I think if you're attuned to it, and you meet somebody and look for the best and look for the gifts, you'll find them. As I said, I worked in management for a very long time, and one of the things that I tried to do was to identify the gifts of those people that were working with me, to see how they could supplement each other and supplement me, and I could supplement them, so we could accomplish a goal. I don't see it any different than that. It's just identifying our gifts and using our gifts the best we can. Kathy says she said a lot of movie quotes from Frozen. Oh, there you go. SamCast says, Dr. Temple Grandin, the most important thing people did for me was to expose me to new things. Yeah, I think that's exciting and very, very true. The more we stretch out and expand our boundaries, expand, I guess, what's the word? Because I'm doing it today. I'm doing it today. This is not my comfort level. I'm reaching beyond my comfort zone to expose myself to you and to show you I'm a real person, and to let you know I'm doing this because I care. I really do believe in our organization. I want it to be successful, and the only way it's going to be successful is to encourage and engage people who have similar thoughts and really want to build relationships and expand those relationships, because together, when you work together and you really truly care about each other, there's nothing you can't do. And so there's a lot of things that as an individual you can't do, but as a team you really can. And that's what I think is so wonderful about Meerkat. It's allowing us the opportunity to reach out and establish those relationships and see how we can help each other out. There are people who have showed up in this room who do broadcast themselves, who are they're my heroes. I mean, I watch and I'm learning, and they're good, kind, generous people, and it's humbling to see that they're here in this room with me today. And I really do appreciate your presence, because it gives me courage to move forward. Thank you for that. Let's see. I'll get better at reading these. Germany says, what's ironic is that I train caregivers so they get a great look at disabilities. Oh, training caregivers. That is so important. Training caregivers, being a caregiver, offering caregiver respite of some kind. I think that a lot of people go into being a caregiver thinking that's kind of an easy, cushy job, and it's not. You have to have a heart for it, and you have to be open, and you have to understand that it's hard work. It takes a lot out of your. It takes a lot of energy to be there to support others, and it's important, just as important as supporting those others. It's important to support yourself, and I call it refilling your bucket, or putting your oxygen mask on first if you ever fly. Have you ever seen that game? It's a fishing game, and there's fish in the pond, and you wind it up, and you have this little magnetic thing, and you pull the fish out one by one. Well, my metaphor for that is, if you do that game, if you do the fishing game, and you pull your fish out of that pond, there's probably like 15 fish in there, and as you pull the fish out, if you don't put fish back in, the game's over. So the thing of it is, if you don't take time to restock your own pond, or to help others restock their ponds, then game over. You just don't have energy to do what you need to do. So that's why we're here to support each other. Dr. Temple Grandin is now a professor at Colorado State University. We at SamCast are so pleased to have you here. Yes, Germany, yes, thank you for being here. I hope you join us again. I'm not the only person who broadcasts for SamCast at SamCast UTS. We have multiple broadcasters. Cal Clark does a show on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I think he's going to expand out to more days during the week. Rob Olszewski at Rob O Speak does Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons at 1 o'clock. He talks about Disability 101 and how the impact on him. On Wednesday nights at 11 o'clock, we have Big Frank's Bada Boom Room, and it is so cool. Frank does broadcasts about the World Wrestling Federation and WWE and mixed martial arts. He happens to have a visual impairment, so it's interesting to see somebody who can broadcast about wrestling, and he is so knowledgeable. I was in his room the other night, and he humbles me because he knows so much about it. It's amazing to me. I was telling Cal today that maybe we should do a Stump Frank show with WWE questions, because he knows so much about it. We have Sam Hasselbush, who is a singer-songwriter who has the voice of an angel, who will be broadcasting. Did I touch?
Just lost your stream.
So should I start and restop?